Welcome to the 10 Steps to Buying a Home webinar, from house hunting to closing day. And we actually really appreciate that you're taking the first steps by watching this webinar today to become more educated on the home buying process. I'm Janiela Beck, the Senior Director of Homeownership Programs here at TSHAC. And joining me today on this presentation are a few co-workers that I would like to introduce you to. First, we'll have Frank Duplashan. He is the Senior Business Development Specialist. And also joining me today is Kayla Glassby, our Homeownership Coordinator. And last but not least, Sarah Eleanor, who is also the Senior Manager of our Homeownership Programs. For those of you who are not familiar with the Texas State Affordable Housing Corporation, we are a 501c3 nonprofit organization, and we were created at the direction of the Texas legislature to serve the housing needs of Texans. Our mission is to facilitate, preserve, and expand affordable housing opportunities for Texans, and our vision is that every Texan will have a place to call home. So kicking off the presentation here today, I wanted to kind of go over a few of those reasons that you might want to buy a home. One of those reasons is tax savings. You can deduct that mortgage interest that you pay as well as your property taxes. You may be able to deduct some of the other costs involved with buying a home, and even better, there are programs like the one that TSHAC offers that provides special mortgage tax credits to first-time homebuyers, which saves you money on your income tax liability every year that you live in that home. We'll actually be going over more details on that mortgage tax credit further in the presentation. I just simply wanted to point out that there are several options available to you to save on your income tax liability by becoming a homeowner. The next reason is appreciation. The value of your home is likely going to grow over time, and that would be considered a great investment for you and your family. Appreciation isn't always the case or isn't necessarily a given, but historically, real estate has had that long-term stable growth and value and is a great way to build long-term wealth for you and your family. Equity is referring to the value of your home minus anything that you owe on that mortgage. So an example, let's say if your house were to appraise, meaning that the market value or what the market value is of your house when you sell it, let's say that it was $100,000 and you only owed $80,000 on your mortgage loan. Your equity in that home would be $20,000. Now, the nice thing about equity is that it can not only come from the down payment that you paid when you purchased the home or those monthly payments that you're making on the mortgage while you've owned the home, but the home will take into consideration the appreciation. So your equity will take into consideration that appreciation. And let's say an example, maybe you've only invested $15,000 between your monthly payment and your down payment, but you have equity of $20,000 because the value of your home has increased by $5,000. So in addition to earning equity from the increased value, you will see a portion of your monthly payments again when selling the home as well, unlike renting a home where that money is gone forever. We actually recently did a survey of homebuyers that used our homeownership programs, and the number one reason they chose to buy a home was that they were tired of paying rent. And one of the other reasons for buying a home is predictability. If you get a fixed rate mortgage, meaning that your mortgage interest rate will stay the same for the life of that loan, you will know what your mortgage payment will be from year to year. Your mortgage payments are always going to stay the same and they're never going to change. Unlike renting, where your rent may increase over time, your monthly payments for your mortgage loan will be consistent from year to year. Now, of course, you want to keep in mind that the only thing that will increase is your escrow payment, which is a payment most of you will make with your mortgage payment to cover your homeowner's insurance and your property taxes. and those are likely to go up every year. But the mortgage payment itself will remain the same for the life of that loan. And because the general consistency in homeownership expenses, you're really better able to plan and make well-informed financial decisions for you and your family. And then, of course, my favorite reason to buy a home is really that freedom and pride. You can do whatever you want to with your home without limitations from your lease. An example, my hobbies include gardening and decorating. And by owning my own home, I can paint my cabinets Tiffany blue if I want to, and I actually have before. So, plus any of those improvements I've made in making my home beautiful are an investment in my home value. And you can just really take pride in your home and make it your own. So, what's stopping you from buying a home? We actually conducted a survey of home buyers that have used our down payment assistance program, and we asked them what they felt was the main obstacles to buying a home. The number one reason was lack of savings for a down payment and closing costs. Number two was poor credit or too much debt. And number three, they could not find the right home, either based on location or price. So we come up with some interesting facts to help you overcome some of these objections. Most people think that they can't afford down payment to purchase a home, when in reality, the out-of-pocket expense for that first and last month's rent and deposit when renting may not be that much cheaper in comparison to a down payment to purchase your own home. If you are using a down payment assistance like TSHAC, especially if you're using a down payment assistance program like TSHAC that we have to offer, the down payment really doesn't have to break the bank. And TSHAC can help you overcome this hurdle with our down payment assistance grants and our second liens. And of course, one of the biggest obstacles in buying a home is poor credit or too much debt. It's unfortunate that we aren't taught in high school how to handle our personal finances or the importance of a good credit score. Unfortunately, we're thrown out there in the big world and expected to figure it out on our own. So some of us having to experience bad credit or high debt before we learn, that just goes with the territory. But TSHAC recognizes that is a common obstacle for families looking to enjoy the pride of homeownership, and we created a tool to help overcome it. We created a website called the Texas Financial Toolbox, and this website will help you find a home ownership counselor near you. There's no need to pay a company to repair your credit when you can do it yourself for free, and these counselors can show you how. Sometimes you could even use some help and just need that advice from an expert, and this website will help you find those experts. These homeownership counselors typically work with nonprofit agencies, and they're available to work with you in meeting your homeownership goals, and they can help provide you the education to improve your own credit and manage your finances. We have also provided you with the website created by the 3 major credit reporting agencies to access your credit report for free. It's called annualcreditreport.com. And then, of course, the next reason I think is that homeowners build wealth more quickly and more significantly through their appreciation, leading to that long-term wealth accumulation where, before you were just sinking payments into rent. Now you can build that significant higher net worth, and often 40 times greater than renters. So those homeowners build higher net worth, often 40 times greater than renters. I wanted to repeat that because that's a huge statistic. Also, in 2022, the median homeowner's net worth was around $400,000, while that of renters was just $10,400. So if that's not reason enough to buy a home, I hope that you will really take that into consideration and consider the long-term wealth of your family as one of the best reasons to buy a home. So we also really felt that the need to create this webinar was based on our most frequent asked questions from potential homebuyers. That question was, I would like to buy a home, but I don't know where to start, or I think I'm ready to buy a home, but the whole process feels overwhelming, and what do I need to do first? You're taking the first step by being here today, but T-Shack is here to help. We created the 10 steps to buying a home to help give you an overview of the whole process, and also to provide you with additional resources that you might not have been aware of. Our hope is really that you will leave this webinar today feeling more confident, knowing the steps to achieve your dream of home ownership. So let's get started through those steps, and I'm going to let Sarah take it from here.
So the first step to buying a home is to get educated. Many people don't learn about their credit and personal finances until it's too late. Homebuyer education counselors can guide you through this process. Studies show that folks who take a homebuyer education course are 33% less likely to default on their mortgage loan. Since buying a home is one of the biggest investments in your life, you will want to get educated. Most down payment assistance programs, like the T-Shack program, require you to take a homebuyer education course before you qualify for our assistance. Our mission is not just to help you buy a home, but we want to help you keep it. So these courses will help you kind of go through step by step the entire home buying process. The courses will typically last between 4 and 8 hours, and they're anywhere from free to like $99, and they're available in person or online for your convenience. So it's a small investment of your time and money to protect your biggest investment, your home. You can find a counselor near you by using our Texas Financial Toolbox, which is texasfinancialtoolbox.com, and you will find a counselor or education class near you. I want to show you what it looks like and how to use the Texas Financial Toolbox. When you get to the website, you'll notice 4 options across the top. There is financial education and credit counseling classes. Here you will find organizations that offer classes and counseling services to help you establish and rebuild your credit, reduce debt, save for the future, etc. The homebuyer education classes offer you the assistance to navigate through the complexities and cost of the home buying process. You'll see that there are in-person locations on the map, and it will also include online options available, English and Spanish. The next category is the homeownership programs category, and this is where you'll find other type of assistance available across the state. Where T-Shack is available all over the state of Texas, you may also find there are some other down payment assistance programs available specific to your city or your county that you could use potentially in combination with T-Shack's homebuyer assistance options. The next category is for those who already own a home and are maybe struggling and need help with foreclosure prevention counseling to help you keep that home. So you would type in your city and it will show you on the map where those in-person options are, and then on the left it will give you the online options as well in alphabetical order. All right, so now we're going on to step 2. How much can I afford? Okay, so step number 2, we make a budget and we determine how much we can afford. In total, you could possibly need 8 to 12% of the purchase price up front to buy a home. This is where you're going to want to sit down and create a budget to help you determine a comfortable house payment for you and your family. You should know that a lender or a mortgage company may qualify you for more of a mortgage loan payment than what you feel comfortable with. The loan qualification process only considers what creditor debt you have, which is typically only debt that shows up on your credit report, like the payments you have for your loans, like car payments, credit cards, and student loan payments. Although you know that everyone has household expenses like utilities and groceries and other family expenses that don't show up on your credit report, they don't know about all of the expenses specific to your individual family. And as those of you with children know, they can be very expensive, or if you have expensive hobbies. So it could include things like tutoring or dance lessons, hobbies like traveling or car racing, You might have a parent or a family member that you help financially. Your budget needs are different from everyone else, so you need to consider these things when deciding on a mortgage payment that you feel comfortable with. Just because a lender says you qualify for a $250,000 mortgage doesn't mean that you have to spend that much. You may be more comfortable with a payment on a $200,000 mortgage. So now I'm going to tell you what is included in your mortgage payment. So as you're creating your budget, you know what kind of things to expect. You'll often hear mortgage payments referred to as PITI because it includes your principal, interest, taxes, and insurance. The principal is the amount that you borrowed from the bank and the portion of the payment that is paying back the loan, and the interest is the fee that you're paying the bank for having loaned you the money. The taxes portion of your payment is to pay for your property taxes, which will be owed to the county, city, and school district for the area in which you live. The insurance portion of your monthly payment is to cover the expenses of insuring your home, which is called homeowner's insurance or hazard insurance, and it will also be covering the mortgage insurance. Mortgage insurance policies help protect the lender against the additional risk associated with loaning a homeowner a mortgage loan that has a low down payment. This insurance is not that expensive, and it's what makes it possible for you to buy a home with a down payment less than 20%. The loan you're likely going to get will only require about 3 to 5% down payment, so lenders require this insurance with anything less than 20% down. Talk with your mortgage lender about how you might stop paying for mortgage insurance when you have reduced your loan balance to 80% of the value and you now have 20% equity. Something else you need to consider when going over your budget is the amount of money you'll possibly need for down payment and closing costs. The lowest down payment options typically range between 3 to 5% of the purchase price, and closing costs can range from 2 to 7% of the purchase price. So in total, you could possibly need 5 to 12% of the purchase price up front. I'd like to point out that the reason why we say the closing costs range from 2 to 7% is because mortgage companies may have different fees from one company to the next, and that's why we encourage people to shop for a mortgage loan. Even if you're using our down payment assistance program, you'll get the same interest rate when working with one of our preferred lenders, but each of those lenders can charge different fees. The lender will provide you with what is called a loan estimate, so that you can see what individual fees are charged and use that to compare with other lenders' loan estimates to decide which one's offering you the best deal. So the average out-of-pocket expense would run anywhere from 5 to 12%, but TSHAC is here to help with some of those expenses, so it may not be as expensive as you think. Before going into detail about TSHAC and how we can help you, I would like to go over the types of loans you can get when getting a mortgage or when using a program like ours to get down payment assistance. So some mortgage loan types that you can consider are 1, the FHA loan, which is going to require a 3.5% down payment. There's USDA, which is usually offered in more rural areas of the state or across the nation. And typically there's little to no down payment required with a USDA loan. If you are a veteran, you have access to the VA loan. And typically there's no down payment required on the VA loan product. Or you can get a conventional loan. And this is typically going to have a 3% down payment with our program that is a conventional mortgage loan. But on a traditional conventional mortgage loan without down payment assistance, the down payment is 5% typically. So 3 to 5% on that loan type. So now I want to jump into how can TSHAC help you with that down payment and closing costs that we were just talking about. We have 2 programs, the Home Sweet Texas Home Loan Program and the Homes for Texas Heroes Home Loan Program. Both programs are offered statewide, even if you're moving from out of state, and they basically offer you help with your down payment and a really cool program called the Mortgage Credit Certificate Program, which is kind of like a discount on your mortgage interest. So we offer 2 to 5% of the loan amount to help you with your down payment and or closing costs. That is based on the loan amount. So for example, if you were to get a $100,000 mortgage and you got our 5% assistance option, you would be getting $5,000. That is something that you can use toward the down payment and or closing costs, or a combination of the two. There's no first-time homebuyer requirement with this product, so meaning that you don't have to be a first-time homebuyer to use it. You just have to be buying your primary residence. There's two ways in which you can receive the down payment assistance. One is a grant, which means it is a gift and never needs to be repaid. And the 3-year deferred forgivable second lien, which is a second lien that sits there for 3 years, no interest is accruing, no payments are due, and it's forgiven on the 3rd anniversary of your closing. So basically, you will receive that money as a gift as long as you live there for at least 3 years. The Mortgage Credit Certificate program is a first-time homebuyer program. First-time homebuyer definition is anyone who hasn't had ownership interest in a primary residence in the last 3 years. So if you have not had ownership interest in a primary residence in the last 3 years, you are considered a first-time homebuyer. That first-time homebuyer requirement is waived if you are a veteran or if you're buying a home in a targeted or distressed area. What this is a really cool program. It's going to help you basically get 15% of your mortgage interest back every single year you live in that home as your primary residence. It does need to be combined with our down payment assistance, but it basically is like a 15% discount on your mortgage interest rate. We do have an MCC calculator on our website that can show you the cost savings that you will receive over the life of a mortgage loan, especially if you live there for 30 years. It's going to show you a very large number in mortgage interest savings. So basically how it impacts the interest rate. Let's say your interest rate is 7.625 and you know that you're going to get 15% of that mortgage interest back when you file your income tax return every single year that you live in that house. So effectively, your net rate on that mortgage loan is really only 6.48. So you're getting qualified based on the 7.625 rate, right? And your payments will be based on that 7.625 rate. But you know you're going to get 15% of that interest back. So you're effectively only paying a 6.48 rate on your mortgage loan. It's a big program that will help you not only save money on the long run on interest, but it will potentially even help you qualify for the mortgage loan up front. I'm going to show you how it works. So let's say the loan amount is $320,000. The interest rate is that 7.625. The interest that you'd pay in that first full year in your home was $24,400. 15% of that is $3,660. That's how much money you'll get back in that first year. And every year after that, it's based on the amount of interest that you pay. So 15% of your overall mortgage interest is what you'll get back every single year when you file your income tax return. Now that 15% can be used by the mortgage lender up front. They basically take that $3,660 and they divide that by 12 months in the year. And that's equal to $305 a month in added income that the loan officer can use to help you qualify for the mortgage loan up front. It's really cool because it can increase your buying power if you're wanting to get into like a house in a different neighborhood and it was just a little bit out of reach. This added income can help increase your buying power. It can also lower your debt to income ratio, which we're going to talk about later in today's presentation, if that should be an issue. And it really can help make or break, or basically make a deal go through. This program has saved a lot of deals and helped people get into a house when they didn't think it was possible. So how do you determine if you are eligible to use our down payment assistance and mortgage credit certificate programs? We have a great eligibility quiz on our website. It's going to take you through 4 questions, and we don't ask for anything personal, no email, no phone number or anything like that. And within about a minute, you'll know whether or not you're eligible to use our program. It's going to tell you if you are eligible to use our down payment assistance and our mortgage credit certificate program, or just our down payment assistance program. From there, it will also connect you with an approved lender that works in your particular county in which you'd like to purchase. And it will also connect you with a homebuyer education class as well. So you'll know what your next steps are after you take the quiz. So step 3 is to get pre-approved by selecting a lender. And if you would like to move forward with using our down payment assistance and mortgage credit certificate program, you'll want to select an approved lender from our website. I'd like to note that just because you're eligible for our assistance doesn't mean that you're automatically qualified for a mortgage loan. So that's why you should talk to a lender before shopping for a home. One of the other advantages of getting pre-approved before shopping for your home is that if you find a home that you want to make an offer on, then that offer has more credibility with the seller because they know you're already pre-approved. And a lot of times a realtor won't even show you a home unless you are pre-approved. But this is especially critical if you are submitting an offer on a house that has multiple offers. The seller is more likely to look at offers from a buyer that is pre-approved. So some of the factors that a lender considers when approving you for a loan include capital, which is the amount of cash you have available for your down payment, your loan fees, your closing costs, and the other expenses that go along with buying a home. Remember, TSHAC can help you with those expenses. The next factor is capacity. We'll go over more detail on what capacity means to a lender on the next slide, but simply this is your ability to earn enough income to cover your debts, including that new house payment. And of course, credit history plays a big role in determining if you are qualified for a mortgage loan. As we discussed earlier, you can go to annualcreditreport.com to get an idea of what your credit looks like and your credit score, or whether or not you need to spend some time working on your credit before you're ready to buy a home. The mortgage loans associated with our down payment assistance program require you to have a minimum credit score of 640 or higher. Of course, the higher your credit score, the better, and the easier it is to get approved for a mortgage loan. Typically, a mortgage lender is looking at your FICO credit score, and they're really the only ones that can tell you what that FICO score is. The next thing a lender considers when approving your mortgage loan is collateral. And this is the value of the home, which is often determined by the appraiser. Lenders review this appraisal to determine that the sales price doesn't exceed the fair market value of the home. And this is protection for you as well as the lenders. So this slide is a really good resource for you when helping you go over your budget and determining what you can afford in your house payment. As we discussed earlier, a lender will calculate what you can afford for a mortgage loan based on your income and your debts, and they will use the following calculations to help determine that. The first calculation is known as the housing ratio, or also known as the front-end ratio. Typically, lenders want to see your house payment, or PITI, is no higher than 28 to 33% of your total gross income. That is the income before any taxes or deductions are taken out. We've provided an example of how you can calculate your housing ratio for when you're determining your budget. So basically, it is your gross income times the 0.28 or 0.33, depending on what your lender is using. And that's going to determine your max house payment, or PITI. So in this example, 3,200 times 0.28 is 896. That would be the maximum payment this particular borrower could make. All right, so the next thing lenders will look at is called your debt to income ratio, also known as the back-end ratio, or DTI. This calculation shows what percentage of your gross monthly income goes to paying your house payment, plus all your other credits or debts. These can include things like car loans, credit card bills, student loans, and even child support. So to calculate your debt to income ratio, you're going to add up all your monthly debt payments, including your house payment, and divide this amount by your total monthly gross income. This calculation is provided for you here as an example. If you recall, this calculation does not include other household expenses like utilities, groceries, those expensive hobbies we talked about, children's tutoring or dance lessons. So you need to take that into consideration when the lender suggests that you qualify for a house payment that you're just not comfortable with. You can always spend less than what the lender suggests. Not all families' priorities are the same, and that can also be considered on the next step, step 4. But just to point this out, typically a DTI ratio can range from 36 to 45%, sometimes up to 50%. The lender's going to run your loan through what they call an automated underwriting system. And that automated underwriting system, which is typically a computer, right, is telling them whether or not you are approved. And they will take into account this debt to income ratio when considering that approval. In this particular example, their overall monthly debt payments are $1,200. They divide that by $3,200, which is their gross monthly income. That gives them a DTI ratio of 37.5%.
Step 4 of buying a home is making your dream home wish list. Once you know how much home you can afford, it's time to create your wish list and determine your wants and needs in a new home. Be sure to go through your list and prioritize your needs before looking at home listings. This will make the process of selecting the right home for you much easier. Some factors to consider are your future family size, daycare options, wheelchair accessibility, or nearby healthcare facilities. Step 5 is going out and shopping for a home. Shopping for a home is one of the most enjoyable parts of the home buying process, and I always enjoyed taking my wish list with me and turning an open house into a scavenger hunt. While on your hunt for a home, you'll need the help of other professionals to help you decide which home to purchase. For example, a Texas realtor is licensed by the state of Texas and is specially trained to help people buy, sell, or even rent homes. A home ownership counselor is a neutral third party who is trained to educate you about the home buying process. A lender is also known as a bank, a savings association, a credit union, mortgage company, a broker, or even a government agency who's licensed to provide home loans and mortgages. A home inspector checks the structural and mechanical parts of your property and reports on any problems they discover before you purchase your home, so you make a great decision. And an appraiser makes sure that the fair market value of your home that you want to purchase is correct and accurate. And then a surveyor would go behind them and check the measurements of the property and land around it, and this is typically required by your lender. An insurance agent plays an important role because they assist you in finding homeowners insurance that covers both hazard and liability, because this insurance is required by your lender. An escrow officer or title agent will manage your escrow period, which is the time between when you start your purchase and you actually purchase your home through the purchase contract and the date that the home loan closing takes place. Your title insurance officer researches the public records of your home and issues a title report that documents ownership and other important information about the home, like liens, easements, or even zoning restrictions. Step 6 of the home buying process is making an offer on your home. The offer is a written purchase proposal signed by you or anyone else that will be a part owner. Genuinely, your realtor will write the offer for you and ensure the proper terms are included. Once you and the seller have negotiated a price and you both sign the offer, you now have a binding purchase contract. Earnest money will be owed at this time, and typically it's going to be 1% of your sales price. An earnest fee is a deposit a home buyer gives to the home seller when entering into an agreement to purchase a home. Before making the offer and giving your earnest funds to your seller, you may want to speak with your realtor about what's called an option period. An option period is a set number of days where you have the option to cancel your home purchase and get back some or all of the earnest funds that you've paid. An option fee is paid by the home buyer to the home seller to gain this ability. So if you have a bad inspection report, you can cancel the contract to purchase the home and you won't lose all of your upfront funding that you've spent.
Once your offer on a home has been accepted, the next step is to hire a licensed home inspector. You could ask your real estate agent for recommendations or search online for reputable companies. Schedule the inspection as soon as possible, usually within 7 to 10 days, and ideally attend it to ask questions and learn about the property's condition. The inspection typically takes 2 to 4 hours. Afterwards, the inspector will provide a detailed report within 24 to 48 hours, and this will highlight any issues with the home. You'll want to review the report with your real estate agent to decide if you want to negotiate repairs with the seller, accept the property conditions for what they are. You could ask for a price reduction, or you may potentially want to walk away from the deal. If the seller agrees to the repairs or price adjustments, you can continue with the purchase. Otherwise, you'll need to decide how to proceed. Now, once you're satisfied with the inspection results and any negotiations, you can move forward with closing the sale, and your lender may schedule the property appraisal. Okay, so you've already been pre-approved by a lender, and now it's time to finalize your formal loan application. Once you've completed the application, the lender will provide you with a loan estimate within 3 business days. This document outlines the loan terms, including the interest rate, the monthly payment, the estimated closing costs, and lender fees. It also includes an estimate of the property taxes and homeowners insurance. You want to make sure to compare this loan estimate with others from different lenders and ensure you're getting the best loan option. After you choose your lender, they'll begin processing your loan. This involves ordering your credit report, scheduling an appraisal, verifying your employment, any rental history, and bank account balances. Once all the necessary documentation is collected, the loan package will be submitted to an underwriter, and they will review it to determine it meets the lender's guidelines and the federal requirements for loan approvals. If your loan is approved, the lender will issue a commitment letter. You'll have a set time to accept the offer and sign the letter to move forward with closing. This entire process typically takes about 30 to 45 days at the most. You're almost done and in the home stretch. Step number 9 is getting homeowners insurance. Homeowners insurance is required by your lender, and it protects your home from hazards like fires, storms, and floods. In addition to covering your home, it will cover other structures on your property and your possessions if they're lost or damaged due to perils such as lightning, fire, or wind. I would like to point out that homeowners insurance is different from flood insurance. So if your home is in a floodplain, which by the way is a really good question to ask your realtor before making an offer, you will want to consider the additional expense of flood insurance because it can be expensive, and mortgage companies will require you to get flood insurance if you are in a flood zone. I also suggest that you should really shop around for your homeowner's insurance company as well. Insurance companies really can vary on price, and you might also want to check for any possible discounts available to you, including a multi-policy option with your car insurance company. All right. We're on the last and final step, which is the funnest and most exciting of them all.
Hello again, I am back for the final step and my favorite step, step number 10, close on your home. So today is the day when the seller receives the funds and you receive the deed and the keys to your new house. This is the most exciting step in the process, as I'm sure you are well aware. But I want to provide you for a few tips to prepare you for that closing, because honestly, it can be a bundle of nerves at the closing table. My first tip would be to walk through the home and do a walkthrough inspection to make sure that nothing has changed from when you last saw that house and that everything still looks good. I actually did a walkthrough of my house a couple of days before I closed and discovered that lightning had hit the house and blown out a lot of the electronics on the appliances. So, it's really good to be prepared for any unexpected issues before closing. You should also know that your lender is required to send you a closing disclosure at least 3 days before closing, which states the final terms of your loan so that you have a chance to compare this with that original loan estimate. And if anything looks different from what you expected, then you need to talk to your lender and ask them why. You may need to get a cashier's check or wiring instructions for any down payment or closing costs that you owe at closing. But remember, TSHAC's Down Payment Assistance Program may be helping you with some of those costs. And then also, I suggest calling all the utility companies in advance and arrange to have all of those utilities transferred to your name as of the closing date, because obviously the last thing you want to do is move into a new house without AC in Texas. And next, it's finally time to sign that paperwork that says this is your home. You'll be signing your mortgage papers at the title company, and you'll want to be sure and allow enough time to read all the documents and ask any questions as you need, so that you understand the full terms of the loan. You may even want to ask your lender about an option to receive all of these loan documents at least 24 hours in advance so that you have more time to review those documents. And our final tip, don't forget to file your homestead exemption after January 1st at your county tax office. It's finally time to celebrate and start moving in. Congratulations on your new home, and thank you so much for joining us today during this presentation, and we really look forward to working with you on down payment assistance in the future. If you have any additional questions, please feel free to contact us either at our homeownership hotline, 877-508-4611, or honestly, the best way to reach us is through email, because multiple people are answering that email box. So you can ask us questions at homeownership@tsahc.org. And don't forget to follow us on social media.